Imagine this. It's December 19th, 2025. The clock strikes 9:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the world is moving in its usual rhythm. New York is buzzing with energy, London is slowly winding down, and the Pacific is deep in slumber. The sun, as it has for 4.6 billion years, shines brightly in the sky. Everything is ordinary until, without warning, something extraordinary happens. The sun, our life-giving star, suddenly turns off. There are no clouds in the sky, no eclipse forecasted, and yet the light vanishes. For exactly 8 minutes and 14 seconds, the world plunges into complete darkness. Now, think about that for a moment. This isn't a gradual dimming. The sun doesn't just fade, it disappears entirely. The sky goes pitch black. Traffic lights become the only sources of light in the streets of Manhattan. Birds, lost in the confusion, fall from the sky. The temperature drops across the globe by an average of 1.2 degrees Celsius in less than 10 minutes. People are in shock, wondering if they're witnessing the end of the world. And when the light returns, the panic only grows. But here's the most unsettling part. It wasn't the moon. It wasn't a rogue planet. It was 3 Atlas. Now, here's where everything we understand about physics, optics, and the universe begins to break down. In every law we know, a 5-kilometer rock cannot block out the sun. The sun's diameter is 1.4 million kilometers, and this object was tiny compared to that. Mathematically, this shouldn't be possible. It would be like trying to block out a giant stadium floodlight with a grain of sand. Yet, when the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, checked, their satellites confirmed it, the solar radiance dropped from 1,361 watts per square meter to 0. That's impossible. Or is it? If a rock had passed between the Earth and the Sun, we would have seen a tiny speck crossing the solar disk. We would never have experienced total darkness. But what the data shows isn't a rock at all. When NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, SDO, turned its sensors towards the anomaly during those 8 minutes, they saw something much more complex. What they saw was not a solid object, but a structure, a swarm of millions of independent units moving in perfect harmony like a single intelligent entity. A rock can't block the sun, but a structure designed to unfurl and maximize its surface area could. And in the realm of theoretical physics, we have a name for this behavior, a Type II civilization signature. What we witnessed that day wasn't just a celestial accident, it was a deployment. 3 Atlas isn't behaving like a comet, it's behaving like a machine. And if you think 8 minutes of darkness was frightening, just wait until I tell you what was discovered in the atmosphere after the light returned. When the sun finally reappeared, the world thought the crisis was over. But the scientific community was left in shock, scrambling to analyze what had just occurred. The truth was, what had just happened was far from ordinary. In fact, the event was so bizarre that it's now known as the scale paradox. Let me explain why this is so disturbing. Basic physics tells us that for an object to cast a shadow large enough to cover the entire Earth, it needs to be massive, about the size of the Earth itself, or at least as large as the Moon. But 3 Atlas is tiny, so how could it possibly block the sun? The answer came when we triangulated data from 3 different space agencies: NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, provided pieces of the puzzle that had been hidden from the public until now. The first clue came 30 seconds before the darkness began. NASA's Deep Space Network detected a signal anomaly. What was strange was that the solid core of 3 Atlas was still just 5 kilometers wide, But around it, something else was expanding an opacity field. This wasn't just dust. Dust scatters light, but this material absorbed it entirely. It was like vantablack, a material so dark it absorbs 99.96% of all light. Next, the ESA's solar orbiter, positioned closer to the Sun, revealed something extraordinary. During the eclipse, the diameter of 3 Atlas didn't simply double, it expanded by a factor of 10,000. Let that sink in for a moment. In the vacuum of space, natural rocks don't just explode to 10,000 times their size and then reassemble themselves perfectly. That defies the laws of entropy, which say that things tend to fall apart, not come back together. So, how did it do this? The evidence suggests that something was controlling the process, something intelligent. Then came the third validation from JAXA's HEOD satellite. This data was the most disturbing of all. They found that the expansion of 3 Atlas wasn't random, it was geometric. Imagine a flower blooming in fast forward. JAXA's thermal imaging confirmed that 3 Atlas deployed what appeared to be wings or sails that formed a perfect, razor-thin hexagonal shield. This shield was only a few molecules thick, but dense enough to block every single photon of sunlight. This wasn't an asteroid casually drifting by. This was an active, intelligent mechanism. In theoretical physics, we've discussed the idea of smart matter that can change its shape, density, and function on command. What we witnessed wasn't just darkness because 3 Atlas was big. We experienced darkness because it decided to make it dark. And that raises the question, why? Why would an interstellar object, traveling from light years away, position itself in front of our star and deploy a solar shield? What could be its purpose? Stay with me, because the next part will unravel even more unsettling details about what happened after the light returned. You won't believe what we discovered in Earth's atmosphere. The moment the sunlight returned, the world sighed in relief, but that was far from the end of the story. When NASA's high-resolution spectrometers began scanning Earth's atmosphere, they detected something that had never been there before, an unknown isotope. This wasn't just a piece of cosmic dust or a harmless byproduct of some natural event. This was something entirely different, something that couldn't be explained by any element on the periodic table. In the scientific community, we have a term for this: exotic matter. Exotic matter is a substance that behaves in ways we don't fully understand. It doesn't fit within the natural laws as we know them. But here's the shocking part. This matter wasn't just scattered like cosmic dust. It was concentrated. The highest concentrations of this strange material were detected above the world's major population centers: New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai, and Mumbai. Where the people are, the matter was densest. And where the oceans are, well, that's where the material was thinner. Think about the implications. An object arrives, blocks the sun, scans the planet, and then drops a specific unknown substance over our cities. This doesn't behave like random cosmic dust. It behaves as though it's been deliberately placed. It's as if someone or something had a purpose in mind. In biology, we see how fungi release spores into the wind to create new colonies. Could it be that 3 Atlas was seeding Earth in some way? Was it releasing something to monitor our infrastructure? Perhaps nanobots designed to track our technology or genetic material meant to alter our biosphere? We can't say for sure, but what we do know is that this substance is here, and it didn't just appear by accident. The 8 minutes of darkness weren't just a cosmic quirk, they were a distraction designed to keep us from seeing what was really happening. While we were all distracted by the total blackout, this object deployed something far more insidious. And now that the darkness has lifted, that substance is settling into our upper atmosphere. Gravity is pulling it down, slowly but surely. The real question is, What happens follows predictable patterns, but 3 Atlas isn't following any natural rules. This is something else entirely. The data we've gathered so far suggests that it is far more than just an object. It's a signal. And we are only beginning to understand what that signal means. In the next part, I'll show you even more concerning evidence. We've detected something even more disturbing, an energy signature unlike anything we've seen before, and it leads us to a chilling conclusion. This wasn't just an anomaly in space. It's a message. But from whom or what? As the days passed after the event, scientists continued to analyze the strange data left behind by 3 Atlas. What they found was unlike anything they had encountered before. The spectrographs from NASA, ESA, and JAXA all confirmed something unsettling. The unknown isotope that had been detected in Earth's atmosphere was not just a random occurrence, it was active, alive in a sense. This wasn't some passive material drifting through space. It had a purpose, and as it settled into the atmosphere, its true nature began to become clearer. What was particularly shocking was how it interacted with our environment. As this exotic matter fell into the atmosphere, the temperature in certain regions spiked. But it wasn't just the temperature of the air. The upper atmosphere itself began to react. The ionosphere, usually a calm and stable part of our planet's atmosphere, experienced an unprecedented heating event. It spiked to levels that are simply not possible under normal circumstances. In physics, when something absorbs energy, it should release that energy as heat. But this material wasn't behaving that way. It wasn't releasing the energy, it was storing it. And that's when the real implications of this event started to take shape. If 3 Atlas had deployed this material as a means of collecting energy, it wasn't just a random experiment, it was intentional. This wasn't the behavior of a rogue celestial object. This was a deliberate action. The object had come to Earth, not just to pass by, but to gather data about our planet, about our atmosphere, and about how we react to extreme situations. And now that the energy had been absorbed, it was clear. It wasn't just watching, it was testing. But the most disturbing part of all of this came when scientists began to analyze the potential consequences of the strange material that had been deposited in Earth's atmosphere. The substance wasn't just benign, it was engineered. It wasn't just meant to observe, it was meant to alter. There were signs that it was capable of affecting our biosphere on a molecular level. Imagine a virus that could change the very makeup of life on Earth, but instead of spreading organically, it was engineered to interact directly with the infrastructure of our planet. And it gets worse. The data showed that the material wasn't just a passive observer, it was actively scanning our planet. This wasn't an accidental encounter with a strange object from space. It was a deliberate act. 3 Atlas had come to our planet, deployed a shield, and dropped an unknown substance into our atmosphere, all while gathering data on how we react to this situation. But the purpose behind this, we still don't know. At this point, the scientific community was left with more questions than answers. Why would an interstellar object care so much about our planet? What was its goal? Was it just a scout, testing our defenses and studying how we react to extreme situations? Or was there something far more complex at play here? And as the data continued to pour in, one thing became abundantly clear. What we witnessed on December 19th was not an isolated event. It was part of a larger, ongoing plan. This wasn't a one-off occurrence. The strange material, the energy harvest, the atmospheric changes, it all pointed to something far more disturbing. It was just the beginning. The discovery that the exotic material left behind by 3 Atlas wasn't just an anomaly, but an active, engineered substance shook the scientific community to its core. But the most alarming revelation was what came next. This material wasn't just absorbing energy, it was interacting with our atmosphere in ways we still don't fully understand. As the substance settled in the upper layers of the atmosphere, scientists noticed strange patterns in the electromagnetic fields. These patterns suggested that the material was more than just a passive observer, it was a catalyst, altering the very way our atmosphere functioned. The key to understanding what 3E Atlas was doing lies in the strange behavior of this exotic matter. Its interaction with Earth's magnetic field was unlike anything we've seen before. When this material entered our atmosphere, it didn't just scatter light or cause heat. It caused a complete shift in our electromagnetic environment. The ionosphere was charged in a way that shouldn't have been possible. Imagine this. Earth's upper atmosphere was acting as though it was being scanned by an outside force, responding to stimuli we didn't even know existed. But that's not all. As the material continued to settle, our global communications grid began to flicker. Satellites in orbit, especially those monitoring our atmosphere, detected irregular bursts of radiation. But these weren't your typical bursts of gamma rays or X-rays, no, these were neutrinos. Neutrinos are strange, ghostly particles that pass through matter almost undetected. They are so elusive that we can't even feel them as they pass through us. But this time, something different happened. These neutrinos interacted with our systems, and their presence in the atmosphere was confirmed by multiple space agencies, including NASA. What's more, seismographs across the globe recorded unusual vibrations that weren't caused by an earthquake. These were resonances, ripples in Earth's core that seemed to echo through the planet. It was as though 3 Atlas had conducted a planetary scan mapping not only the surface, but the very core of our planet. And it did all of this in the same 8 minutes and 14 seconds during the blackout. Let that sink in. An object traveling from light years away arrives in our solar system, blocks the sun, deploys a strange material over our cities, and then conducts a scan of the entire planet. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a natural event. This was a deliberate, calculated action. And the question now is, why? What could be the purpose of such an extensive, intricate operation? As we move into part 6, the questions only grow. What happens next? What does this strange material mean for the future of humanity? And perhaps most unsettling of all, who or what is behind this plan? As the final chapter of this strange phenomenon unfolds, one thing becomes clear. We are only beginning to understand the full scope of what happened that day. The substance left behind by 3 Atlas continues to settle in Earth's atmosphere, and scientists are now grappling with the implications of this strange material. We've seen how it interacts with our environment, how it can alter the very structure of the air we breathe, how it can manipulate electromagnetic fields, and how it can affect global communications. But there's something even more disturbing. As scientists continue to monitor the situation, they've noticed a pattern emerging. This isn't just a random event. The material left behind seems to be reacting to the environment. It's as though it's slowly integrating itself into the fabric of Earth's atmosphere, responding to subtle changes in the planet's electromagnetic and gravitational fields. This material seems to be learning, adapting, and potentially interacting with Earth in ways we can't even predict. What does this mean for the future? Could this material be part of a larger experiment? Are we being studied not just by an alien force, but by a civilization capable of manipulating matter on a scale we can't yet comprehend? The more we study this, the more it seems as though 3E Atlas isn't just a passing object, it's part of a grand design. Perhaps the most unsettling thought is that we might be a part of that design. Could Earth have been chosen as a test subject? A planet observed, studied, and even altered by an advanced intelligence with technology far beyond our understanding? The signs are everywhere. The way the object deployed its shield, the exotic material it dropped, and the way it interacted with our planet's atmosphere, all of it points to a calculated, deliberate act. But what's the purpose? Why would a civilization go through all the trouble of coming to our planet, blocking the sun, dropping material into our atmosphere, and scanning our world? Are they preparing us for something greater? Or perhaps they're just watching, observing how we respond to the unknown. In the end, the question we must all ask ourselves is this: if 3 Atlas was a scout, what comes next? If this was a message, what was the content of that message? And if it was a warning shot, what is coming for us? The universe remains silent for now. But as we continue to watch the skies, we must remember that the silence may not last forever. When the next signal arrives, whether it's light, darkness, or something altogether different, it will reveal the true purpose behind this strange encounter. Until then, we must stay alert, keep looking up, and prepare for whatever comes next. Because now we know without a doubt that we are not alone. And whatever is out there, it's watching us, even in the dark. If you want to stay updated on the latest findings and explore the full mystery of 3 Atlas, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stay tuned, because the answers might be closer than we think.